Okay, what do you reckon number 10 is? Number 10. Tenders that ask for a concise response in a complex question. This happens a lot to us. You know, please give us your risk mitigation strategy for supply chain breakdown in 2 lines. Hey, no word of a lie. The document's locked down. We can't add anything else in. We look at ourselves and we flick it open and we go, well, we've got a 10-page standard response to this and you want us to shove it into 2 lines. What do? Refer attachment. Yeah? Yeah. And we know you hate that. Refer attachment. Flick, 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 flick. Number 9. Tender templates that bear no resemblance to the product or the service that you're looking for. Service, especially in fleet, this happens to us a lot. We get commodity type of tenders. Things that sort of say to us, oh, look, you know, for everything that you supply, you must have an order number for your supply and you must send an invoice in on a certain number of days and it's got to be signed by 6 people from the organisation. And we're thinking, hang on a minute, we're going to have somebody at every service station for when you pull in to buy fuel. It's not going to work. So these types of documents for us are very, very difficult for us to manoeuvre through them. And sometimes we don't know how to answer it. And then the worst one is you also attach a document that could perhaps be an agreement for the supply of, you know, things like stationery and that. And then we start to look and go, well, hang on a minute, this is getting really bad now. We just can't make this work. Number 8. Asking the same question over and over. We can understand why this happens. You're sitting in your area, you've sent out the document or some questionnaires out to your stakeholders, you know, the end user, the contract manager, sales, service, delivery, and all those sort of people. And everybody's got an opinion, so they send it all back to you. And some poor person in your team has to try to bolt all this together into a tender that makes sense. And of course there's a deadline, isn't there? And you guys love deadlines, I know that. So out it goes, we get it, and we're now struggling because we've got a 2-page answer for this one question that's been repeated 3 times. What do? Do we repeat the answer 3 times so that you have to read it over and over? And we appreciate you could be reading thousands and thousands of pages. So we then challenge, do we repeat it 3 times or do we do the refer? Number 7. Formatting and number errors. Now this is actually normally the Frankenstein document. You guys have gone, hey, that tender worked really well for us, let's grab that one and we're just going to hack it up and we'll use a bit of this one and we'll use a bit of that one and it all comes together. So we get question 16 5 times. So then we're challenged. When we're answering question 16 and referring back to it, what do we say? In our response to question 16 on page 32, not to be confused with question 16 on page 47, 53, 127, 199, and in the forward as well. Then the other day, we got one. It was absolutely brilliant. In it came to us. Top of the page, the headline question. No problem at all. 44 bullet points underneath it. Now, I don't know about you. I never knew you could get 44 bullet point lines on a page, but these guys did. I think it was 6-point Arial or Times Roman narrow, I think. But they managed to fit it in. 44 bullet points. So we referred to bullet point number 22. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You know where I'm going on that, don't you? Outline numbering. It's beautiful. Works really well. Number 6. Running a tender over Christmas. Oh my, what are you doing to us? Hey? Now, those of you in government have been known to do this occasionally. Honestly. Now, you know, look, I know Christmas, you know, look, we're a lazy industry. We work hard for 11 months of the year. You guys go quiet on us over Christmas. You don't do much, you know, your contract managers don't generally do much in vehicles. So we think, great, we're going to knock off just before Christmas. We'll take most of January off. We'll come back and get back to work. Bang, out it comes. 20th of December. Just about always the week before we knock off. Guess which date it closes? Second Friday of January without fail. It's unbelievable. Number 5, we're halfway there. The same guy that called the Christmas tender goes on holiday. Laugh as you may, this happens a lot. So we get on the phone. Can we speak to Bob? We've got a couple of questions about the tender. No, I'm sorry, Bob's on holidays. Anybody else we can speak to? Nope. No, only Bob. Oh, great, okay. Tender closes 10th of January. When's Bob back? 13th, yes, exactly. Bob's coming back just in time to sit down at his desk with all this big pile of tenders and distribute it to the team to look at. It happens quite a bit, actually. It's scary. Number 4, saying you're green and asking for 6 bound copies. We read 3 pages about how loving and caring you guys are to the environment. And then you say to us, give you 6 bound copies. Well, what do? We're very environmentally conscious. We give you triple bleached, high gloss, heavyweight paper. 1.5 line spacing, big margins, bright colour, double printed, single sided. You get a document from us that is about 200-300 pages long. We've chopped down about 1 million trees to produce it and consumed about 400 litres of bleach to get the paper put together. I think it's a question, are you green or you're not green? And sometimes these tenders need to reflect one of the same. Number 3. This happened this year. This was a good one. 250 quotes for 50 vehicles. Okay, very small fleet. But 250 quotes. Now, what you have to understand here is that salesmen generally answer tenders. And what are salesmen? Don't say it. Well, what are salesmen? They are typically lazy people. Sorry, guys. They are very lazy people. So what happens? 250 quotes or an easy one? 250 quotes, nice, easy one, big chunk of business. They rang us and they said, you didn't tender. I said, that's funny. How many did? And they said, 1. We sent it out to 15 organisations, 1 tendered. I went, well, what do you expect? You're killing us. 250 quotes for 50, never going to happen. So your tenders need to be sometimes balanced in what you're asking for. And we tend to find the larger the organisation, the bigger the tender becomes. Number 2, we're at the sharp end. Excel. Please stop sending us Excel as a document to put text in. Have you ever tried doing it? Excel's got some really great features, 1,024 characters, but it lets you type more than 1,024 characters in. So when we save it, off goes the rest of the text. It disappears on us. What you get from us is answers that don't make sense. You're missing half the story. So we're smart. What do? We try to hack into the document, break the password. It's about that long normally, but you can get some really good software for that to fix that problem. We try to reformat the document so it's going to work for us, and then bang, we send it back to you. But Mr. Gates has got another trick up his sleeve. 2010's backward compatible to 97, isn't it? Not. So when we send it to you and you convert it back or up or down, depending which way we're going, we lose some other bits and pieces. Randomly. I think Microsoft built in this random loss methodology into the document. It causes some challenge. Look, there's some really good things. You could use Word, or there's some really good online software. But please, stop sending us Excel. I know you guys don't do it, it's the other people, but Excel's a killer. And it still happens. Number 1, the number 1 top tender mistake. Stop leaving track changes turned on. Oh my gosh! You've got no idea what we read. Do you realise that you send the documents through the organisation and people actually type in comments? If we ask this question, this is going to screw them. I don't like the guy from this place because he's a bit of a... But anyway, we open the document and go, whoa, this is a bit of fun. Hey, if I was a brave man, I'd post some of these. We could have a field day, but I'd probably never get any business ever again, so we'll keep them hidden, okay? But look, they're a bit of fun, but seriously, we still get these constantly, and it never ceases to amaze us how these appear. But moving in, let's have a look at the value of being a valued customer. And what does that mean? Well, the first thing you've got to realise is we measure you. I know you measure us. Well, we definitely measure you. And it's really quite simple. We're quite crude animals out there. All suppliers I'm talking about here. We basically categorise you into 3 categories. You're an A client, a B client, or a C client. So an A client to us is the profitable client. That doesn't mean it's a high price. It generally means that it's giving us profit. So maybe it's a low delivery cost. Maybe it's high volume, low delivery cost. Generally has recent latency. You're doing lots of buying, lots of churning over, which is really good for us. Keeps the sales guys busy. You never want to have a salesman being lazy. The other thing is often an iconic position, like a Foster's or something like that, because it's really good for us. We can go, hey, look at our customer here. This is really important. And then the other interesting thing about them is if we talk to our sales support team, to our client service teams, they'll generally say, hey, they're really good people to deal with. Tough, a little bit demanding, but they're nice. And it's interesting how often these A clients have these very, very similar attributes. Then the next level client, we've got the B. And this is really our base load client. You know, they're reasonably profitable. They have variances within that. Medium level delivery costs, not overly demanding, but you know, they can be, but it's not too hard. If we talk to our staff, they're generally fairly neutral about them. But nice people, everything goes fine, you know. They just work. And that's really our baseline. And then we've got the C's. And the C's are low profitable clients, typically shoppers. They're typically not using us a lot, and they might be shopping us continually and using us less and less and less. The support staff will tell us that they are demanding, and they won't rate them very well. They'll actually say, look, they're not really a nice group of people to deal with at the end. And then there's the other group, which are even worse. But what we're trying to achieve with these customers is we're trying to move them. So ideally, maybe 10, 20%, probably 10% is your A class. Your baseline, maybe 60 to 80%, and then C clients. You want them to be as few as possible. You're always going to have them. And then what we're trying to do is we're trying to filter them up. Move a C to a B, B to an A, because you've always got some sort of drop-off. And then if you can't convert a C to a B, drop them off. Too right. But there's an ugly beast. There's an ugly, ugly, ugly one. Excuse me. The toxic client. This is a drama for us. Drama for any supplier. They are typically very, very disrespectful behaviour, almost abusive, almost aggressive type of behaviour. They dispute invoices. Everything, nothing's right, ever. And in that, you know, dispute process, you know, we've actually had an invoice for about $120,000 held up for a $100 transaction. They question everything, they're high maintenance. You know, the biggest problem is they sap the lifeblood out of your client service teams. They erode them. And the concern for you is this. While your supplier is dealing with one of these, they're not servicing you. You need to find a way of understanding how your suppliers treat these type of clients, because these will cost you ultimately with your supplier. No matter how good they look on the outside, no matter what the price is that they've given you, if they can't control these guys, you're in big trouble. So what's the value of being a valued customer? Well, I think it's manifold. I think certainly if you're an A-class customer, if you're valued, you're going to expect your responses to be done quicker than the other guy. It's fair enough, isn't it? I think if you're looking at your supplier and you want some innovation or new ideas or new products to come to you, you would like to think they're going to come to you before they give them to one of your competitors. That's a fair enough assumption as well. You can also leverage that very nicely in the cost area. You know, are there some ideas? Are there some ways that you can work with your supplier to actually reduce your costs? And who are they going to work with first? You, as an A-class client, or the C client, or the B? Well, naturally, you're going to want to keep the one that you want to keep, aren't you? That's where your effort's going to go. In cases where supply has been outstripped by demand, you're going to be first cab off the rank. And we certainly saw that through the GFC in a number of areas. Certainly when it was money, finance at that stage was tight. The A's and the B's got the money, the C's never got anything. And we've certainly seen it recently with Japan and the Japanese vehicle manufacturers. Guess who's getting supply? So, oh, and of course, you know, the other things that you can do is if you're going to roll over the tender and you've got an opportunity to extend, what a great opportunity to have a little bit of a squeeze for price. We don't mind being squeezed. Well, it's much cheaper for us to keep you as a customer than to go to tender and to risk losing you. Hopefully you should be able to get maybe an even better price by some skillful negotiation. But the trick for you is this. You need to understand how your supplier measures you. You need to understand where you're ranked in your supplier's mind. And you need to also understand how your supplier deals with C-class and certainly the toxic type of clients. because ultimately that's where your cost will come through. So what have we learnt today? Well, Australians don't drink Fosters and Mexicans certainly don't drink Corona. Have a look at early contractor involvement. I know if you're in government you're going to be screaming probity and you're going to give me a few other nice sort of words wrapped around that, fairness in the marketplace and all that type of thing. But I believe there are ways that you can go about this and still meet your internal objectives and guidelines. At all costs, avoid my top 10 tender mistakes, and I'm going to be watching out for them. I'm going to be very disappointed if anybody in this room ever does that. Understand the way the supplier messages you. Very important. That's going to ultimately tell you how your service is going to be delivered. Don't ever become a toxic client. If you think you're a toxic client, and to be fair, here it's not you guys, it's actually your contract manager and your end users will be the one with the toxicity, if anything. So you need to have that understanding. And of course, leverage the advantage of being either an A class or at least a B plus type of client. It is really that simple. Look, that's all I've got to say for today. Good afternoon, enjoy the rest of your day.